Good evening, everyone. This is Shantae K. Shanteezy. Welcome to my analysis today on Thursday, June 2020, just a day before Juneteenth, folks. If those who have heard it and those who don't know, I'm going to give you the definition later and the meaning behind it. But in the meantime, I'm going to get to this analysis today. It's not going to be long-winded, so it's going to be probably like 20 minutes, maybe under that. So I'm just going to go quickly as possible. So happy Thursday. Hope you guys are having a thirsty Thursday. I'm not drinking tonight. I'll probably drink tomorrow because it's Juneteenth. And it's a special one because it's 155 years. So here we go. So the federal response to coronavirus. So those who don't know the stats, I have it. It is 2.1 million. So the exact number is 2,188,037 cases. And it's still rising, according to Johns Hopkins. The death toll is 118,386. That's a lot. Ooh. And that is since reopening. So the death toll has risen as states like New York and New Jersey have seen the flattening of the curve. Other states in the southeast, particularly Midwest, probably like close to the southern Midwest, and even out west, seen rises in their cases. That states like I think Oregon, and I'm not sure if Washington or is it Oregon or Utah, one of those states had to scale back on their reopening phases. So that's where we are. In terms of testing, as I always say, there's no testing on a federal level, but there is testing in some states. I know states like New York has implemented testing, so that's where we are. And it's over 800 sites, by the way. In terms of financial implications, so I have some stats. Gotta see where they are. So according to the New York Times article, as of today, 1.5 shows another 1.5 filings of claims of unemployment, and this is the highest number, higher than 85,000 since 1982. So, and that's like almost 40 years ago. So that's where we are, and I believe, I'm not sure if that includes the 760 people that file new claims under the new pandemic program. So that's where we on unemployment, and that new pandemic program provides an extra $600 in your account. So you get your actual, for those who are still on unemployment, you get your actual unemployment claim depending on, I think, your contribution from your check or from your job, totaling that average number from the Department of Health. And then you have the extra $600 that you get from the government, and that's only temporary up until next month. And the GOP has no desire to give you that extra $600 because they feel like since the country is reopening, they feel as if everything is fine, which is really not, because we're almost at 2.2 million cases of COVID. We got to this within 3 months, and it's been handled really badly. And there are companies, as well as the Hilton Worldwide, is eliminating jobs just because of the country reopening. People are seeing a massive of layoffs. So you have the Hilton Worldwide, as I said, eliminated 2,100 corporate jobs globally. That's bad. You have AT&T eliminating over, I think, 3,000 jobs, and that includes tech jobs and clerical jobs. And then you have 24-Hour Fitness, who's filing for bankruptcy when they announced it on Monday. So that's what they're doing. And they're closing permanently closing 100 locations. So this is not looking good for this administration, as they keep touting that they created 2.5 million jobs out of the 20 million jobs. Almost 21 million jobs have been lost in April. You still got major big companies. You got Hertz that filed for bankruptcy. You got Macy's closing down stores. Victoria's Secret closing 65 stores. Then you have this from AT&T. You have universities like Denver University laying off people. So this is big. You got even some nonprofits, major nonprofits, that's doing massive layoffs. So I mean, this economy is not looking good. I mean, this man inherited a great economy. He keeps saying he built it, but he didn't build it, because if he built it, more jobs would have been created. But obviously he didn't. It's always the Democratic president. I mean, since modern day history, honestly, since, I could say FDR was not a fan, like I said, not a fan of black people, but he cleaned up the mess of the Great Depression over time. That took like a whole decade. Then you have who else? Who else cleaned up a mess? I'm not sure what the mess that, well, Kennedy was trying to ease the racial tension divide, but he got killed. Lyndon B. Johnson enacted, enforced the Civil Rights Act, and I guess the Voting Rights Act, I believe, too. And then you had a whole mess of, they do get hit hard. And I worked in nonprofit for many, many, many years. And hi, CC. And so, what else? Jimmy Carter, it was a whole recession in the 70s, like after the 1968 riots. He cleaned up a mess. And unfortunately, he wasn't reelected. Bill Clinton cleaned up a 12 years worth of Republican mess. And President Obama inherited a $1.3 trillion deficit. So the whole assumption is Democrats in recent modern day history have cleaned up a mess from Republicans. It's true. It's a fact. And nonprofits do get hit hard at the end because grants are harder to distribute. And then that's like with 2008, 2009. Nonprofits haven't seen like a big boost. They saw a big boost, I think, the end of 2012 or within 2012. Not quite as sure. They have, it's bad. It was bad because I worked in nonprofit, and because that's the sector that taught me my job skills. So I know the impact, the economic impact. I graduated from college in the height of the recession, like the peak of the recession before it got out of control. I graduated in 2008, so I sympathize with whoever's graduating this year from college or who has lost their job because of the cost of the pandemic. See, my job, I was on a temp assignment because the previous job, I was actually in accident because of change in power. So that's why. So once again, this is nothing to celebrate. I don't know why Trump keeps celebrating over 40 million people unemployed. And just because there was some rehiring, there's still people getting laid off left and right. So how's that helping? But whatever. In terms of Andrew Cuomo's brief, and I'm not going to be long-winded with it because you can catch it. It was pretty lengthy. He talked about the police reform and saying the state has to the beginning of April 1st to reform their police departments. And his list a whole series of questions and he said that the community that includes the activists, that includes the what else? Other community groups and the police department and elected officials, to come together and to do a whole kind of what's that thing? To gather up a reform together. Oh, let me read one question before I continue. Rehired to temp gives pay less. That is true. And they don't pay as much. They pay like $15, $20 some dollars compared to I made over $50,000. So yeah. I get more on my unemployment than I got when I was working a temp job. It's like $100 less, but it's still like at the same amount. But back to this briefing, he did ask a series of questions for the people, like how do you want your police department to look like? Do you want to defund it? The funds diverted somewhere else? Do you want to demilitarize it? Like, get rid of all of like the tanks and the tear gas and stuff like that. So he's giving the state with their police departments, including New York City, April 1st to reform their police. So whoever's listening, the mayor needs to get on it, because New York City does have the largest police department and the largest police unions. And like I said, the unions is the problem. They've been the problem forever. They've been the problem since I was a kid growing up in the city. So they've been the problem. And now they're being exposed. And now the unions are getting upset. That's too bad. And the comments that they made about people getting settlements because their loved ones died in the hands of police is going to be replayed forever and ever. And now is this, which is a YouTube channel. I think it's like an advocacy kind of like channel or like organization, media organization. They always replay those comments. And I'm like, they sure said that. He also talked about COVID-19, and the city has under 1.0. The state has tested almost 70,000 people, and out of those 70,000 people, almost 618 were tested positive. So that's under 1%. That's not bad compared to where we were back in May 20th. And we had the lowest number of hospitalizations is around 1,358. The number of deaths of people were at 29 people. It was an uptick a little bit on June 17th. As we are on track, New York City is on track for phase 2. For those who don't know, phase 2 of reopening is professional jobs such as admin, support, IT, also indoor shopping at 50% capacity for all these things. 50% capacity, property management offices, real estate offices, barbershops, hair salons are limited services. You have to make an appointment, call to make an appointment. That's the only way they're going to see you, if it's by appointment. And so they ask people to wear a mask, the mandatory test, to do a daily screening to see if you're asymptomatic or tested positive with the antibodies and blase. All staff must wear a mask. All employers must wear a mask. People can't deny service that people don't have no mask on. To me, I just feel like I understand, but stay the hell away from me. And you must have the signage and markers for the social distancing and to wash their hands and all that good stuff. And also curbside pickup is still encouraged. Malls are closed, but only if they have like an external interest to come into the store. Some malls have that. I mean, some places have that, some places don't. And I believe that's going to start on Monday. So you get the full announcement on Monday. So that's how it is, right? And he is signing an executive order for holding bars and restaurants accountable for for the sidewalk and in front area of their establishments. Basically, wear your goddamn mask. If you don't comply, you get your stuff revoked. You get your stuff taken away. It's true. And I don't mind him doing that. He also encouraging colleges, issuing guidance to New York State colleges and universities to allow some resident capacity. I think some of these colleges way do distant learning, and I think that's good because they don't want, because supposed to be a second wave of this is supposed to be coming. And so when that second wave comes, it's going to hit harder because you don't know if you have a cold, you have the flu, or you have coronavirus. So that is impacted in all of that. So that's the worst time. So all these other states reopening and not reopening in phases and just doing just whatever, listening to bad guidance from the federal government, which he blasted them today. And I think I quoted him. He said the federal government attitude is is an undeniable mistake. And it's true. Like, it's bad judgment coming from the top. And then you don't hear Dr. Fauci, you don't hear Dr. Birx, because they've been shunned away from TV because Donald Trump disbanded coronavirus's briefings because he made it his own campaign stopping speech. And he doesn't like the fact that the media keep questioning him about the reopening, about being held accountable for why he did not act timely. So he figured like getting rid of the coronavirus, it just creates more conflicting messages. But I'm going to get into the Wall Street article that I read, basically based on what he said about the coronavirus. So overall, the country is steering in a bad direction when it comes to coronavirus. Only some states like New York and I believe New Jersey, but mostly New York, is opening in different phases by different regions. But still, you can't have a full capacity. It's only by 50%. And that's going to be our reality probably up until when it's a vaccine or maybe election day. Because I don't have no faith that a vaccine will come this fast, because you got to do a trial test on people. And people got to opt to do a trial test. They have to sign consent forms, I believe. I don't know how that procedure go, but I'm pretty sure that's how it go. That's like if you're in business and if you want to do this thing, you have to sign a consent form to consent to doing this experiment or doing this thing. Because it's that fine print right there. So I'm pretty sure that's happening. Right? So, I mean, hey. But more on Cuomo's briefing, you can see... briefing. You can see his briefing on YouTube. Now I just want to get into the politics of things. I want to get into the Supreme Court Supreme Court ruling. So today, this morning, I got a news alert, and it's a 5-4 decision. I'm pretty sure all of y'all know of the DACA ruling. This 5-4 decision was like skinned. It was not like Thursday 6-3. It was 5-4. And so Justice Chief Roberts, according to the Washington Post, Justice Chief John Roberts Jr. Rejected the Trump administration attempt to dismantle program protection for undocumented immigrants brought into the U.S. as children, known as dreamers. DACA, which is also deferred action for childhood arrivals, was a program implemented 8 years ago under then President Barack Obama. It allows qualified enrollees to work, study, and remain in the U.S. as a renewable permit. Chief Justice Roberts have joined his liberal colleagues, and that includes Sotomayor, Kagan, Bayer, and Ginsburg, on this decision. And according to his ruling, it was made very clear to Trump that the administration does not make the rules. Trump said this week in the ruling that while he needs the chance to further transformation to the court, basically in his favor. And also other rulings on this decision that includes shielding his taxes, which from Congress and from the AG of New York, which is Tish James. Also separation of church and state, and abortion rights, aka Roe v. versus Wade. I quote Trump, and he said, "We need more justices or we will lose the Second Amendment and everything else," as he tweeted. He said, "Vote for him in 2020. He also tweeted, "Do you get the impression that the Supreme Court doesn't like me?" I'm about to deconstruct in a minute. Also, the Trump administration tried to end the DACA program, as y'all know, since September 2017. The reason DACA was created as an executive order back in 2012 because under President Obama, because Congress failed many attempts to pass comprehensive immigration bill, which is true. Also, Jeff Sessions suggested that the Trump administration to end DACA, to end it just all. Lower courts otherwise found that questionable, stating at any rate, the Department of Homeland Security did not properly weigh how ending the program would affect those who will come to rely on its protections against deportation and ability to work. So Chief Justice Roberts actually agreed with the lower court's decision. And like I said, all this information comes from the Washington Post article. So if you have it, you can read it, whatever. He said that dispute before the courts is not whether the Department of Homeland Security may rescind DACA. All parties agreed that it may The dispute is instead primarily about the procedure the agency followed in doing so, Chief Roberts stated in his written opinion, along with, I said, the liberal justice that went for him. And he added, not going to write out, he said write it out, but he read from his stuff. So, of course, the judges that did not side with him were Samuel Antaleo, Clarence Thomas, Brett Kavanaugh, and Neil Gorsuch. So I told people about Neil Gorsuch, don't give him no brownie points. Just because he voted with the liberal judges on Monday doesn't mean that he's a friend and an ally to the majority of Americans that want progression. Just saying. Clarence Thomas said he agreed that the program was illegal for the start and that courts should not have recognized that rather than extending the legal right. So let me just deconstruct this whole thing. I'm not an intellect. I'm not a historian. I'm just a regular person who just read up on stuff and that's interested in stuff, but also interested in the business side of things, as I gave you the financial numbers of certain things. So let's just say this. Those 4 conservative judges are bull. Clarence Thomas, as a black man who was born, his ancestors was born here by slaves involuntarily, should understand that these young Americans, and not just Hispanic, black people from Africa and from Haiti want a chance. Half of them are doctors, lawyers, teachers, accountants, financial analysts, have essential businesses. They work, they own stores that we go to, the 99-cent stores. They cook our food, clean. It's all variation of jobs that they have. They're in our colleges. They are college advisors. They work in nonprofits. Some of them are executive directors in nonprofits. So Clarence Thomas can take that legal cheap shit and flush it down the toilet. As of Donald Trump, they're not even thinking about the goddamn Second Amendment. They're ruling what is right for the country. The country is changing. The country is getting browner and blacker. We are becoming the majority, not the minority anymore. So your old way of thinking that make America great again, that whole slogan, is a modern day KKK message saying, I want America to be great back in the 50s and before, where black people knew their place and they were second class citizens and white people were first. I think that's how he want his vision of America to be great. But then you tout saying African Americans, that's my African American? No. I need people who's ever watching or is going to watch on my timeline later and going to like it to wake up. This is why voting is important, because when you don't vote, elections have consequences. And one of the consequences is having racist idiots, New York con artists, known into con businesses like Trump in the White House. New Yorkers, black people, but New Yorkers also in particular, knew the danger of having Donald Trump and the higher authority that he was already in. The shady con businessman that he was. Okay? Donald Trump is a con man. Always been. So the Supreme Court does not work in your favor. He does not know how government works, but he learned this week. Judicial branch is their own independent branch. There's 3 branches of government. One that makes the laws is the legislative branch. The one who enforces the laws is the executive branch. Judicial branch is the one that judges and makes sure we follow the laws. The executive branch they have power, but I always always said, and this is my opinion, that the judicial branch and the legislative branch always have the power. They're independent. That's why there's elections to put people on the courts and in elective office. Because that's how our founding fathers put it that way. That's how government works, people. And Donald Trump don't understand it. So the people that voted for him, they're great people. You're not great when you have a racist that is illiterate, that reads on a 3rd grade level. My goddaughter reads on a higher level than he does. I'm sorry that I'm ranting, but I feel like I'm living in a crazy twilight zone. And feel like I've been living in this since 2017. Where people just don't give a damn. We have lowered and dumbing ourselves because the world leader in the United States is a dumbass. So once again, I need people to wake up. Because articles like what I'm about to read from the Wall Street Journal about this man, because I read it before I did this. He was interviewed on Wednesday, and he took credit for popularizing Juneteenth. I'm about to get into the definition or that in a minute. But he said something about the COVID-19 cases and blamed China he says the country was nearing the end of a pandemic and believed that China might have encouraged the international spread of coronavirus as a way to destabilize competing economies. There is a chance it was intentional. He said COVID-19 was overrated and allowed for a possibility that some Americans wore face masks, not a preventive measure, as a way to disapprove him. They wore it as a way to disapprove him. He said the problem with face coverings is that many people get fidget with coverings, and which made them more than likely to be infected. They touch their nose, we all know that's bullshit. Because we wear face coverings, it's protecting us from our loved ones. Staying distant from our loved ones is protecting them in the long run. I haven't saw my mother and my sisters physically. Well, I saw my eldest sister, but I couldn't even embrace her. But my sister, my older sister, and my mom, I haven't saw them in 3 months. And you know what? As sad as I am, I'm keeping them safe from all harms. I see my dad every now and then, but I don't touch him. I stand 6 feet away from my father. My father don't even come upstairs to my house. I see him outside. We stand outside. We give each other things. And that's it. We don't talk. We don't touch one another. Because I don't want to infect my father. So when Trump says crap like this, I need people to wake up and pay attention to the nonsense that he spews every single day, people. Just saying. I'm just saying. And something else that he said too that was very alarming. Trump said there are some systematic racism. Removing the Confederate names of the military will further divide the country. He also said in this interview that he expressed that rooting out systemic racism is building a stronger economy. He also said something where I like to say there's not systematic racism, but unfortunately, people probably some, and I would say substantially less than it used to be. This man is completely tone deaf. This is what I'm saying. Donald Trump is a privileged man from Queens. I believe he's from Jamaica East States. Maybe the wrong neighborhood I'm getting. But he grew up privileged. His father had money. He inherited his father's business. Donald Trump is a privileged man. He grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. He hardly been around black people. Just because he took pictures with celebrities, that's the only black people he came close to, as far as I'm concerned. I grew up in the city. And for those who are watching me, probably grew up in the city too. Jamila, I know you grew up in the city. I'm pretty sure Keith was watching, he grew up in the city. I grew up in New York City. Donald Trump, I never saw Donald Trump in my neighborhood in Harlem. They say he went to the Bronx, but he took a photo out, but was it really genuine? Yes, he took pictures with celebrities, but he was not around the average black people because he didn't put them in their buildings, him and his daddy. Donald Trump has conned different businesses. He has even said some racial slurs about Jewish people with yarmulkes counting his money. Donald Trump is a fraud. He's always been a fraud. And like I said, I need people to wake the hell up and realize this man is a joke. You may think I'm ranting and raving, but my truth is my truth. And I don't do this for the hell of it, for clout. I do it for me. And me only. And let my friends know that it's time that you wake up and realize you got to vote. We all, wanted different candidates for the Democratic nomination. But guess what? Those who are Democrat. But guess what? We got what we got. It all depends on our VP as well. Whoever's going to be the VP. And it's going to be a woman. I don't think it's going to be a man. Because turnout is detrimental and it's serious. And Joe Biden got the whole world on his hands right now. The whole country. And even the whole world. Like I said, on his hands. Literally. Shoulders, hands, feet. All of that. So that's where we are in America. We got the most ignorant man who's denigrated our White House. And that's why his ass got to go. And y'all all got to vote. Period. So Juneteenth, just those who don't know, because he said he made Juneteenth popular. The only reason why people have got outrage of Juneteenth because you basically are holding a rally where around that time people got killed. Black Wall Street, Tulsa, race riot. Duh. Didn't make that shit popular. You don't even know what that shit is. People getting excited, getting mad over it. I was like, Donald Trump is an ignorant motherfucker, and I always said it. For those who don't know what Juneteenth is Juneteenth is the oldest national celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States, dating back to June 19th, 1965. Like I said, it's important because it's the 155th year that the Union soldiers, led by Major General Gordon Granger, landed in Galveston, Texas. It originated in Texas, where the news that the war ended, the Civil War ended, and that the slaves were free. Note that 2.5 years later, this happened 2.5 years later after Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation had, getting tongue-tied, Emancipation Proclamation, but it only had little effect for Texans due to minimal order of Union troops to enforce the executive order. So pretty much that's why I consider, after learning about Juneteenth years ago, why I consider Juneteenth to be more effective than the Emancipation Proclamation. So Donald Trump, once again, you didn't know that because you didn't pay attention in history class, because you don't even pay attention to your daily briefings, and you don't even know how the branches of government works. That's all I'm saying. Now last in this VP poll, I saw a mammoth VP poll. Not sure about the numbers, but it shows that Kamala Harris is higher. It's 28%, I believe, and Elizabeth Warren is at 13%. Not quite as sure what the numbers is, but I probably will get those numbers to you sometime soon. Hopefully, if I remember tomorrow. So, like I said, Joe Biden, the whole world is on Joe Biden's hands, and that includes a plan. He had a more broad and black agenda, criminal justice agenda, climate agenda. That's why he got an advisory board of different things, education, even getting the proper and the right female vice president. And most people want, 60% of people want a woman of color as the VP. That drives out turnout. Look at President Obama. He was the first black man running for president. And it's not just the first black man, but the way he spoke. He spoke eloquently. Because at the time in 2008, I was a Hillary Clinton supporter because she was my senator. So, and then when you hear President Obama, you're like, oh, that man can speak. I think I'm going to go for that guy. And that's how it was. And guess what? He won twice with Joe Biden. So Joe Biden has to run on the most historical ticket. So all these Warren supporters saying that Joe Biden has the blacks, it's complete bullshit. That's why the whole world is on Joe Biden's hands, and Joe Biden his team better make a clear decision. The announcement is going to be August 1st. That's a long time to wait, but hey, this is where we are. But as I said to people, please wake up, smell the coffee, vote, because Donald Trump is a threat, not just to this country, but almost like to humanity. So with that, I hope you guys have a great Juneteenth. I'll probably be live tomorrow, because I am going to watch the Instagram battle a little bit, even though I am Team Alicia Keys all day, every day, even though she has pissed me off for the last couple years. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see that. So to all of you, have a good night and God bless.